Hey guys, welcome to Noble American. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about feminism, because why not? It's 2018 anyways. So one of the interesting things that I've come to learn about, I mean, you see the videos all over YouTube and everything, where you have all these people saying, oh, feminists are stupid, and men's rights activists are bigoted, racist, sexist, homophobe. I mean, you name it. There's bad things out there, and the feminazis this, and look, there's a gender divide. There's a huge war ideologically going on. Everybody's freaking out about everything. It's absolutely fantastic. One gigantic shit show. So the narrative seems to be that either one, it's, women are just as good as men at everything, bar none. Biology has no say in anything whatsoever. It's all about privilege and power and systems of authority and things like that, and how it's just not nice about women, not nice for women. They just kind of got the shit end of the stick, and because of that, how are you going to figure out how to live? How are you gonna, get the equality that you're looking for? So you have to. It's all about redefining the type of equality. It's going to be like an equality of outcome, and then when you realize that definition doesn't actually manifest itself naturally, it's all about forcing that manifestation through action, and that action is usually tearing down your opposition, because you're going to create opposition when you don't have that action. When you don't have that equality. So when you can't get to where you're going, you have to just destroy whatever's in your way. And then, unfortunately, that just seems to be the case. But then on the other side, you have the men's rights activists as well, or MGTOW, or all the different various groups where they'll have their interesting ideologies. Like they say, for example, the Red Pill Forum with Paul Elam says things like, there's a... It says things, for example, the world is gynocentric, and you have to treat women a certain way, almost, and the way he comes across is very turbulent, and maybe not framed very nicely, but I mean, the information is there. It's all valid. I mean, I don't necessarily argue with most of his points about how interpersonal relationships work, but one of the big points of contention is that, let's say, for example, 98% of the workplace, or 98% of workplace fatalities are men. That's a thing. 95 to 99% of all wartime death is men. So that's a thing. It's men and women, women and children first off the sinking ship, not so much men. One of the things they talk about is the male disposability, and they make a big point to complain a bit about the fact that society views men as disposable, and that what do you get? You get a statue, you're listed on a wall, you're in a book, and that's all you get. Well, I have a slightly different position. And what I've come across during my research is essentially the question is, okay, fair. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with male disposability? What's wrong with the statues? Why do men sacrifice themselves? Why are they disposable? Because it's not like women are forcing them to be disposable. It's not like we have a gun to our head saying, hey, go potentially die, or we'll kill you. It's not, there's no government. We create the government. So men advocate for male disposability. But why is that? What do we gain from being disposable? Well, firstly, is it actually disposability? Or is it a willingness to sacrifice the individual for, what is it, the group? Is it the future? for an idea. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen that YouTube video where it's an Asian classroom and the teacher is trying to get the students to say 2 + 2 = 5. They refuse, and the one that stands up and says, no, that's not right, gets shot and killed. Well, that would be male disposability, because he's willing to put everything on the line for an idea, for something that he believes in. But that happens more often with men than it does women. I mean, it's not that women can't do that, but women, there's a clear gender divide in responsibilities, and it's all biologically influenced. Women carry children. That's a fact. Men can't. You can take that trans crap and stuff it up your ass because that's a social... your trans is a social construct. It's not biologically based whatsoever. It might be psychologically based, but that's because of the imbalances that you have on a chemical level, quite possibly affected specifically by social conditions. We can get into the nitty-gritty of that at a later date, and I intend to, because the data doesn't actually back up almost any of the claims. But women carry children. Men don't. So let's just pretend. Let's just have a thought experiment. 100% of all men and women are 100% equal in every single capacity. You're all the same height, you're all the same weight, you're all the same, you have the same 1 rep max for bench, you can run the same 100-meter sprint. There is nothing a woman can do that a man can't, and vice versa. And you do it at the exact same rate. Well, that's not true, we know that. But let's just pretend it is for the sake of argument. Let's just assume that egalitarianism and equality of outcome, the feminist euphoric dream exists. Let's just pretend it does. And then a man marries a woman, or fuck it, doesn't even marry him, just a woman gets pregnant. Well, during the 9 months of pregnancy, she's going to experience a reduced rate of capacity due to the pregnancy. She has to carry the child. She's going to become less mobile. Not immobile, just less mobile. And on top of that, the changes in the body are going to occur that are going to cause her to not be physically the same. Production of milk and mammary glands, so you're going to have larger breasts that are going to be a little fuller, maybe a little on the tender side. I mean, it's not to say that you can't be deadly. You can still be deadly. Some of the most deadly people in the world are mothers defending their children. But the fact is that biological transition impairs a woman's ability to function in the world at the same capacity as a man who does not experience that same impairment. That's important. That's important because that's not a small thing. Now, not only do women not maintain the same physical stature throughout pregnancy, but they also don't have the same ability, or same level of responsibility, we'll say that, through after childbirth. An infant is naked and exposed to the world. It can't fend for itself. It doesn't, like a horse is born, or a pony or a foal is born, yeah, and it's up and running within minutes. People don't do that. They're incapacitated functionally for years, which means they need constant supervision. Women become hyper aware of things like temperature differences because in a cave with a fire, if the temperature goes down a little bit because of a cold night, that might kill a child. That's how sensitive the children are. Therefore, that's how sensitive the women are. Which is why it's always cold in here. The men, however, are the ones that are actually leaving the cave to go hunting mammoths in the Ice Age, right? They're going to sleep wherever they can sleep while they're looking for the food to bring home. They need to be resistant to the cold. They're not sensitive. That's not because they don't care. That's because taking the time to care is the difference between life and death, especially in situations like that. Being able to compartmentalize the fact that I am suffering now, however, if I continue to do what I'm doing and just deal with it, there's going to be a reward, not just for me, but for my family as well. That distinction between men and women is extremely important. So, that happens, but we also have to consider something, especially prior to the advent of modern medicine. Infant mortality was very high, especially in contrast to the way it is today. Well, that's not good. So, your average replacement rate is 2 kids, because you got to replace the parents. That's a population increase of 0. I mean, you can argue statistics. I'm just going off generalities. I'm not going to get into this absolute specifics of time versus people versus families and reproduction rates and things like that. Just in order to replace the current parents, you have to have 2 kids. In order to increase the population by one person, one individual, you're going to have 3 kids. If you have 1 kid, you actually reduce the population. So let's just pretend that we're trying to expand the population by 1. So you got to have 3 kids. Well, if infant mortality rate or childhood mortality rate is something like, 40% or 60% or something to that effect. Let's just be generous and say call it 50%. In order to have 3, you have to have 6. Well, let's just pretend the woman has the 6 children back to back. Give her a few months off, 1 per year. 6 years of a woman's life is now dedicated to just being pregnant, just to increase the population by a factor of 1. So the woman that started off being 100% equal in everything now has a 6-year period of her life where she has to be extra sensitive, extra aware, and has to be completely selfless with the service to the child because the child cannot take care of itself. Well, that's a massive change in roles. Over time, assuming that you even started from the same place, over time, physically, women are going to be different. They just are. They don't have a demand to be shut off to pain. They don't have a demand to be shut off to crazy, harsh conditions. They don't have a requirement to be strong and powerful. They don't have a requirement to go hunt and kill. Not in the same way that a man does. Because a man is not confined physiologically by the child. A man is actually confined by the needs of the family. He can't just go off and do what he wants. He actually has to ensure that the needs of the family are met, which requires sacrifice. You have to go into the wild, to the unknown, and you have to, as Jordan Peterson would say, confront chaos and bring about order. You have to enter the unknown. You have no idea what's beyond your borders. And you have to come out victorious with something to sustain your family on, your people. So the sacrifice is necessary. So when you have the question of male disposability, is it bad that men, being the most powerful of the two, the more powerful of the two, out of necessity? Is it bad that they are willing and able to use that power to put themselves at risk at being destroyed for the sake of what? Their family? Of an idea? Of an identity? Where they're willing to sacrifice themselves to make sure that there's a tomorrow for what they know to be home? Now, I want you to consider something. What is a woman to a man? A wise man, when he looks at a woman, sees a gateway to immortality. You have all sorts of different stories about individuals seeking immortality, like the Fountain of Youth, for example. You have all sorts of different stories like that. The problem is that when you try to seek immortality for the individual, it's going to be a pointless endeavor. It doesn't exist. But the way an individual actually achieves immortality is to reproduce, is to pass on what is the best of you to your children, and to nurture what is the best of you in them. They will be themselves, but they will also be part you. That is your immortality. So, once again, I'm going to ask the question. When a man is disposable, is it bad that he is willing to be disposable, literally, for the future, for his own immortality, for the immortality of his people and of his way of life and everything he holds dear? And if the answer to that is yes, or even if it's no, to be honest with you, is that a responsibility you want women to have as well? Women who actually carry the children and make sure that the future does get off to enough of a start to be self-sustained? The men can't do that. The women have to. That's why women and children are first. That's why the men stay behind and die, or fight to the death when someone invades. The man is protecting the future, his immortality, and his children, as well as the only thing that is best suited for his children to reach a point where they can now be independent. It is unfortunate if the man does die, because that is a lot of wisdom and experience that is vital to the child's successful upbringing. But without the woman, it doesn't exist at all. So with that concludes my thought today on why feminists and the men's rights activists both have it wrong when it comes to male disposability. That is actually a point of pride for men, that willingness. So with that, thanks for watching. I appreciate you tuning in. This is just kind of an interesting, unique, and new experimental video series I'm going to try and get my become regular, put on my channel, and see what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below what's going on. If you're interested, give it a like, ask some questions. I don't know, participate. I'm happy to interact with you guys. Maybe someday I'll be cool like Dave Rubin. Who knows? I don't know. Hey, thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day.